The beautiful riverside Bonaventure Cemetery was once the Bonaventure Plantation. Some of Savannah's most notable names are buried here. The plantation grounds are now filled with interesting tombstones and vaults. Its spectacular flora surrounds the grounds with colorful camellias and azaleas, along with dogwood and magnolia trees. But it is the arching limbs draped with Spanish moss of the old live oak trees that makes the cemetery one of the most photographed in the country. The site is a mix of long roads and the old lane that was once the entrance of the plantation. But that, together with the unique headstones and tombs, is a recipe for beauty. Historical documents has shown that many of the live oak trees in Bonaventure today are nearly 250 years old. One of the most famous characters from the cemetery is the Bird Girl. The statue graced the cover of the book and movie poster for Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. The famous Bird Girl statue was originally designed both as art and as a bird seed holder. A Savannah photographer was asked to take a photograph for the cover of the book. He searched the Bonaventure Cemetery for a suitable subject. And on the second day, he found the sculpture next to a grave on the Trosdell family plot. The cover of the book became an immediate icon for the area, and soon the statue became a popular stop for tourists. Just after the release of the movie in 1997, the sculpture was removed from the cemetery because fans were causing harm to the graves. The statue's new home was the Telfair Academy, and later to a space within the Telfair's Jepson Center for the Arts in 2014. This is the Bonaventure plantation at one time. And this is where the colonial ships came in and docked at the Bonaventure and acted as a hospital. So they had the ship, the Wasp, was docked off of their pier. And here's the water right here. So the Wasp came in somewhere around here because the Bonaventure plantation was right there. And they docked off here, and they acted as a hospital ship. And that's where they took Pulaski after he was shot in the siege of Savannah. Now, there's rumor that he got buried at sea, but that is not true. They've never been able to prove that. They're pretty sure that he was buried at Greenwich, which is where I'm standing right now, by the fountain. And that's the only thing that exists of that plantation. So we're going to go see if we can find the fountain. But in the 1850s, he was dug back up and buried in the monument that's in Monterey Square in Savannah. And they proved that just recently by finding the bones in the corner of the monument. Casmir Pulaski is an American Revolution hero. He was contributed for saving Charleston from the British and saving George Washington's life at Brandywine. Sadly, the average person doesn't even know who he is. But this Polish-born hero is remembered as a man who fought for freedom on 2 continents and has been given the title Soldier of Liberty. In the United States, several streets, bridges, counties, and towns are named in his honor. There are even Casmir Pulaski Days throughout the United States. Pulaski sacrificed his life fighting for Savannah during the American Revolution. In Monterey Square in Savannah, a large monument was erected in his honor in the mid-1800s. You can find this beautiful monument in the middle of the square. But what a lot of visitors do not realize is Pulaski is buried alongside the monument. His bones were once buried in a small metal box inside the monument. But during renovations, they removed his bones for examination and revealed a secret about the general that shocked everyone. You see, the general was most likely intersexual. In other words, both male and female. On this land once stood a 3-floor, 40-room mansion called Greenwich Plantation or Greenwich Place. One of the only remnants of the mansion is the fountain, which is thought to be where the famous General Pulaski was first buried until his body was moved to a town square in Savannah. The plantation was founded in colonial Savannah in 1765. The property was a 100-acre plantation. It was just north of the Bonaventure plantation and sat on the same bluff. The plantation had a mile-long driveway, which still exists and is the long road just left of the Bonaventure's main gates. The plantation was established in 1765. Since then, it went through many owners. It even was owned by a German rifle club. So, this is the only thing that remains of the plantation, the Greenwich plantation. So, the story behind this is that you can see the water right there. The Wasp boat was docked off of Bonaventure, which is over here at the Bonaventure plantation. Okay? And then the Greenwich plantation was here. This is the only remaining thing of that plantation is this fountain. The Wasp was a French ship that was helping in the colonial wars, and they were using it as a hospital. So they took Casmir Pulaski, when he was shot, to that boat. When they couldn't save him, they want to bury him, and it's a myth that he was buried at sea. He was buried here in Greenwich Plantation. This was not a cemetery at the time, okay? They wanted to kind of hide his body because he was of stature. They didn't want the British getting his body. So they brought him over here to Greenwich, and it's said that he was buried somewhere around this fountain. Around the 1850s, they decided to dig him up and put his bones in the monument that is now in Monterey Square. And they proved that recently. So somewhere around here, when this was not a cemetery, he was buried in this area. Some say that it was a family cemetery. But you can see how beautiful this is. The water is right there. There's a river right there and marshlands. So imagine, if you will, that you're at the plantation and this is your view, this beautiful view right along here with the beautiful glistening water. It's just, it would be a magnificent place to live. So this plaque reads, Greenwich Plantation was created by combining a number of farm lots which were grants from King George II of England. This fountain was placed here in 1898. It was restored in 1967 by Harbin Daniel in loving memory of Catherine Murray Daniel, Catherine Daniel Long, Christopher Daniel Long, and Robert Barrington Long Jr. So the fountain was built in 1898, but the area marks where they think that Pulaski was buried by some other people that were family members. And then when they put the fountain there, they basically knew what the area is, because you got to realize there was more landmarks here back in those days, such as the house. So, you know, people that the oral history was passed down that this is where he was buried. So if you come here looking for this fountain, it's pretty much in the center of the graveyard. So if you drive the perimeter of the graveyard, come to the center road and just come on up. Of course. And there he is.
Sweetheart, he killed Chubbs.
He killed Chubbs. He's just sitting there. He's right there.
It makes themselves pretty obvious during the day. So when I was a kid, I used to get some of the Spanish moss, and I'd take it back home and try to get it to grow in my tree. Well, I had an oak in my backyard, not live oak, but...
Did it ever work?
No, it'd blow away and die.
Good old Spanish moss.